Okay. David, you ready to go? Drinking your water. Yep, got to get it going. Well, I am joined here. So, Mr. David Hart, businessman, leader of the community, very recently kind of making some waves in Parker County with a new venture that we're going to get into. We're going to talk about the Malt Shop here in Parker County, the historic, the iconic Malt Shop. A call went out, almost like a bat signal, if you will, and somebody replied. We're going to get to that. But first, real quick, if you just want to kind of tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, you and I have met, David, but I love the fact that we're doing this podcast because I want everyone else to know a little bit more about you, but I'd like to know a little bit more about you. So give me a little bit of Mr. Hart. What's the history? How did we get here to Parker County? What are we doing?
Well, actually, born and raised Parker County. So Parker County native. Been here basically my whole life. Grew up in Springtown. Graduated in Springtown. Got a family here in Peaster, actually. So not new to the area by no means. Feel like it was just yesterday, but it's been a couple decades ago.
Springtown is exploding, it feels like. I mean, everything's exploding, but Springtown is like, it's part of Parker County, and my wife and I barely go up there, but it's growing, the size, with the stores, the beautiful courthouse. Yeah, Springtown's growing. You make it up. You make your way up there at all?
I'm going to tell you, we lived at textbook, right? We lived on Main Street, right? So I grew up on Main Street. So when I drive through there, it's, all the feelings, the childhood, and, you drive down the road, and it was small town USA, and you knew where Bob lived and Sue, and, I reflect on that every time I got through there, and you think about those things, right? And so we'll get into that hopefully in this conversation of what that drives in the community with business and how that relates to your childhood versus what you do in your adult life.
Well, you want to talk about that real quick? What are you thinking? Seems like you got something you want. I mean, that you got an idea there, a thought. Yeah. What are you thinking? So stuff in the childhood kind of drives you as you go.
I think that the passion and the dedication to it is derived off the success that you get, but it's not just that for me. It's the relationships that you build along the way, and it's watching the other relationships and the other factors when they succeed as well, right?
Okay.
So in part, let's take this back. So before podcasts and social media, if you needed something 30 years ago, what would you do?
Probably pick up the phone. You'd ask a neighbor. You'd knock on a door. You'd go to a buddy.
You'd pick up a phone.
You'd have to pick it up. I was doing this, right? That's the old
with the cord.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. With the cord.
Not to go off on a tangent, but I asked my daughter to make the symbol for a phone the other day, and the younger generation does this. I don't know if everybody notices that. That's the new thing is millennials do this. Even Gen Z does this. But the youngest of them, they put the iPhone to their ear. But anyway, I digress. Keep going.
I'll check that out. No. So, but to your point, we would. I'd watch my dad work through his relationships. He would call somebody he worked with and, hey, do you know a guy that could do this? And we worked off a referral system. We didn't get online and read reviews and search. And, we when we did get online, half of that was butchered because we had dial-up internet, right? Mm-hmm. And so you'd wait 22 minutes to download an email and hear, you've got mail. So I take that into the adult life now, and we're talking about driving down memory lane and Main Street, and it's no different in what we do here in Parker County, right? In the road that you drive down, the legacy that's behind these roads, the blood, sweat, and tears that went into these businesses before us, man, it's all part of a bigger picture, right? So,
no, I think that's, I think that's absolutely true. I'm on year 24. Don't quote my math, but here in Parker County, but it's already starting to happen for me, and I think that's the beauty of life, is you already are starting to see. There's what is it? It's old money and new money. Well, there's probably old heritage and there's new heritage, right? So there's things that I'm started to see that are becoming old fashioned and they were once new. And I can only imagine someone who born and raised here, someone whose parents born and raised here. So Springtown, Main Street, love it. What's first thing, greatest memory that pops out about Springtown?
Man, I tell you what, the coffee shop conversations.
Okay.
So there's roadside corner, sits on the corner of 199 and 51. It's where all the small town folk got up there, and they'd sit up there in the evenings and the morning time, and they talk about the chatter in the community. And so, growing up, it was a little difficult for me to get away with things because I had some parents that were right on top of me, right? But my dad worked for the city.
Okay. Uh-oh.
So I'll tell you a little funny story. So I came home, I had a 79 Ford Fairmont Futura, okay, with a little inline six. I thought it was the hottest thing ever. It was black and silver. It stunk. They called it Pepe Le Pew. All right, so I'm driving down Main Street, and I slide into my driveway. I just fishtail it into the driveway. and I hear a whistle.
Sounds like a
What?
great move.
I'm like, what? I thought it was classic. It
Sounds
was
like a great move.
yeah, I should have been in Fast and Furious. So I'm like, who is whistling? I look, and my dad's at the gas station. Bring your keys over here now. I'm like,
Boom.
so I went over there, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to say? He's like, what are you
As
doing?
you're walking across the street, you're thinking, uh-oh, what's the lie?
told him, I said-
what's the fib? What's the...
I said, my brakes went out, and I just cranked it, and I threw it in park. And it was just textbook. It was perfect. And he's like, great. What day do you get paid? And I said, I get paid tomorrow. Why? And he goes, we're going to go put new brakes on your car with your check. And I'm like, okay, it wasn't the brakes. He goes, oh, so you lied to me. So now you're grounded from your car. And I'm like, okay, all right, I got to figure this out.
Yeah. Car didn't need brakes.
No.
Yeah.
No, but he made me buy them anyway.
Yeah. Oh,
I ended up having to put brakes
All
on.
right. So you worked for Dad worked for the city. Mom, Dad kept a good eye on you. Springtown, lots of good memories. You see a lot of that here reflected in Weatherford and other parts of Parker County. So it sounds like we're gonna lead into the Malt Shop now, right? So it sounds like there's something in you that's driving the business side of you that's not all business, and air quotes business, right? So
Yeah.
so when you first, most of the folks when they see this podcast, David, they want to hear about the Malt Shop. I've told probably 15, 20 different people, oh, we got David Hart. He's the guy he's taking over the Malt Shop. And they're like, oh, saw it on Facebook. Oh, I saw that on Facebook. Oh, I know about that. Oh, that's great. That's great. I think for a lot of folks, the Facebook is fantastic, but let's dive a little deeper. So the very first moment, the spark, if you will, is on Facebook. You see that there's a post on Facebook, or someone texted you and said, hey, you got to check this out. What's the spark, the initial spark?
Well, just to your point, it popped up. Miss Janie had posted it, and I saw that the post was shared, and I instantly shot a message, and I said, before you get 10,000 messages, can you just give me some of your time, right? I didn't have a script. I didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't know really kind of how I felt about it, but it was just like an instinct. It was like, oh my God, we can't let this happen, right? And so we got on the phone, and me and Janie talked about our family, our roots, our history. She told me what it meant to her. I told her what.
And this phone conversation is presumably pretty much after you texted her. You messaged her, give her a call, or is
Yes.
this the next day?
No, it's the same night.
Same day,
Yeah,
okay.
same night. She responded, and she said, "You're lucky that you're lucky that I got in touch with you, because I have so many people blowing up my box. Like, it's just difficult." She said, "Yours popped up. I called you, and we spent probably a good hour and a half on the phone that night. And we didn't just talk Malt Shop. We talked heritage. We talked legacy. We talked family. We talked about values. We talked about small town USA. We talked about the passion. We talked about her drive, what's kept her going, what her woes were, and we really just kind of established that connection, right? I feel like we really were able to communicate with each other, because I understand where she's coming from and what she's trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we really wanted to find out is, A, can we help each other out, and B, is there a path to success here?
Can you tell me and the listeners how do you know how long Janie had it for? This is not the original.
No, Janie's been there for 30 years, and I believe she has owned it for the last 9 or 10.
Yeah. Okay.
Or the last 9 or 10, but she's worked there for over 30.
Oh, she's been there for
She's
over
been there for 30 years. That's correct.
And owned it for the last 9 or 10.
That's correct.
And time is up for her for various reasons. Okay, so she puts the all call out. You get on the phone with her, you call, and step 2 is, I gotta look into this a little bit more. I gotta see if this is
Yeah.
viable.
For sure.
And there's still, this is a business deal, so you don't need to go into and disclose anything you don't want to disclose, David. But you've talked to her, you have an idea. Did you go talk to any family members when you get off the phone with her? Actually, that's a great question. Who's the first person you talk to when you get off the phone with
Oh,
her?
God, that would be my wife.
Okay.
Yeah, baby. You know how that goes.
Yeah,
So,
and
she said, "You were crazy." And I'm like, I got some crazy good malts, though, so we're going to
do have
figure
some
this.
crazy
we're
good
gonna
malts.
figure this one out.
Yep. And you go there, they have milkshakes, and they have malts.
Absolutely.
You can actually get a malt, and it's delicious. So it's
Yeah.
not good with the keto diet, but I'll tell you what, every once in a while, if you're gonna break it.
I'm willing to forfit my summer body and take one for the team for
That's
Parker
right.
County.
That's
I'll,
right.
I'll be there trying malts
Yep.
on a daily basis.
Parker County, this is for you. Okay, so you're deciding, you're sleeping on it, you're waking up feeling excited, you're feeling nervous, you're gonna do this, or you're like, I got some hesitations.
Man, I'm going to tell you, it's a mixture. It was
Okay.
50-50, right? Because anytime you take a leap, you always get, for me, I get inside my head and I'm a little over analytical sometimes, but I think the biggest thing that works out and the benefit is you learn to trust your gut, you learn to trust your heart, no pun intended there. But it just felt right. Like everything just kind of aligned, and you kind of get that warm fuzzy feeling. And like I said, when you have that relationship and you talk to somebody and you really like understand what wires somebody and what they're looking at, you can relate to it. It's something that you can't get away from. So even if I wasn't the right buyer, right, and we talked about this, and I won't get into a lot of the details, but like I explained to her, if the partnership isn't right, let me help you find somebody that is right. Right, let's work together on this aspect of it. So numerous conversations went into it, but everybody said, "Man, that was quick." It's kind of like the stars aligned for what that's worth.
Well, you're looking. I'm considering myself very proudly a fast mover, so I like quick. Sometimes sometimes there's a cliff at the end, but I like fast. That's just how we move, and 9 times out of 10 it does work out.
Well, I'm not afraid to fall. I'm just afraid to land. That's the problem.
Amen to that. Amen. Okay, so now you're in. I'm on the outside. I'm seeing some announcements. I'm hearing some rumblings that Malt Shop has a potential buyer. They have somebody who's agreed to take over. And then the first thing I see is an all call for all hands on deck, Parker County. If you got ability with electrical, if you got roofing ability, if you got a power washer, if you got a paint skills, I'll trade you. I think I even saw that. Don't correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll trade you gift cards for work or whatever. We'll barter, whatever. Where did that come from? And then how is that going?
I'll be honest with you, that was just a business instinct that came in, and I'm like, okay, we talk about our core values, and I look at the relationship in the county of the things that we've done in the past, and I've seen kind of what's worked, and I'm like, sound the alarm, right? Like I'm in full panic mode because Parker County is at risk of losing a legacy, a 75-year-old establishment that's been here that just brings us back to the roots for our families. And the countless sacrifices and the hours that people work there and the first dates.
So David, how
these
close
aspects.
are we? I don't want to interrupt you, but everything we're talking about is really predicated on urgency.
Yeah.
So I want to establish that real quick. This was going to close within months by the end of the year. We were about to close, possibly, right?
No, she needed to find a seller or she found a buyer for
ASAP.
it because she was done. Yeah, there was there's some underlying health issues and some things that she just couldn't get around, and honestly I don't have a timeline on that, but it would not have been very
fast.
long. It was one of those deals where I felt like if we didn't get on it right now, that we were at risk for losing it.
So the instinct gets you. I want to put out the all call. You get a response. You get some messages. You get some texts.
Oh God, I've got about 95% positive and some 5% that are a little hesitant. But for the most part, like it has just been. It's been a blessing because it goes back to, again, what we talked about at the beginning of this podcast. It comes back to the community and the networking, right? And it's Parker County doing Parker County things. That's what makes this town so special and so unique. We won't get into all that, but just overwhelmed with the amount of support. It's so crazy just to see that. And I watched Janie just literally just have an emotional breakdown and cry of tears of joy because
tears of joy. We love
all
that.
of her sweat, her tears, on this, and the hard work put into it is everybody's coming together to help save that, and that was what was so special to her on this deal.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, good for you. We're not done talking about it yet, but I do want to pivot from how it happened to now like the cool part, the exciting part, right? So now we're not just getting Janie did her thing. It was great. It's an establishment. You know what to expect. Very consistent. Looks the same, feels the same, tastes the same. Okay. But you have plans. There's some upgrades. There's some modifications. There's some off camera. Earlier you were telling, I heard a donation of turf mentioned. So talk to me about some of those things. If there's too many, just maybe the ones that most excite you. But what are some of we have the past. We've talked a little bit about the present and how we got here. Now what's the future?
So here's the deal. When you look at a long-standing business, you look at what has made it successful, right? You don't ever want to take away from that. But you also got to look at it's 2025, right? Okay, so cars are built differently. Cars drive different. Our driving habits, our eating habits, our kids, the whole 9 yards. So let me just button this up real quick. So my biggest thing is how do we engage the younger generation to eat the Malt Shop and be involved,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we're real quick to eat chicken nuggets and Chick-fil-A, and that's all great. Like that's fine. I think Chick-fil-A. I think my kids told me it's the Lord's chicken. Is what
I
they
do
told
love
me.
Chick-fil-A.
I do love Chick-fil-A, but nothing beats a Malt Shop.
There
So
you
anyway,
go. Okay.
but when I think about the reasons why I might not take my kids to the establishment, right? Well, I didn't have a secure seating area for my kids. My kids like to bounce around, especially if I'm giving them ice cream. So, we toyed with the idea of creating more seating area underneath, and that was met with a little resistance because you want the cars to pull underneath the awning, and I'm like,
you mean the current roof? You
Correct.
toyed with the idea of some child area underneath. Okay, there's no such thing as a bad idea, so that's an idea. Okay.
So actually, we solidified that, and you're going to be the first person I'm going to tell.
All right.
Okay, so I won't tell anybody else. All right. So underneath the awning, we're going to create a section that a generous donor has sponsored. They're going to put fence up with 2 gates, so that way you can enter into the secured area, and your kids can sit there and eat. You don't have to worry about them bouncing around or getting hit by a car.
Oh.
Okay. But we are going to leave the parking available for people to pull up so they can still have that old
You
feel.
know, that is super exciting. Back in, my daughters are 20, 18. But that was, it's some traffic right there. It's some fast traffic. It's some folks pulling through. And an enclosed, I'm hearing you right, an enclosed area, partially enclosed, semi-enclosed, safe, enclosed area where you can just sit and eat, or you can let them kind of run around a little bit. That's awesome. That's a huge upgrade. I think that's a big draw.
Right. So then you got to figure out, well, that's great because we've secured that, but what are we going to do? You ask, go ahead and ask. So what do we do to get the kids engaged? Like, why would the kids want to come to the Malt Shop other than we have ice cream?
You do have a pretty good lure for kids.
Yeah.
If a brewery brings the dads in, but a malt shop could bring the kids. But I hear what you're asking. I understand what you're
So
saying.
take the brewery to the Malt Shop. Is that what you said?
Oh.
6-pack of burgers and a 6-pack. No.
Okay, all right. So yeah, what's your ideas? Lure the kid. I mean, not lure. That's my word, not yours. How do you bring the kids, or make it a little more attractive, child friendly? Okay.
Absolutely. So there's a direct area back behind the Malt Shop. A nice enclosed area that's back there.
Oh yeah. Very familiar.
And man, wouldn't it be cool if you could spend your summer nicely? Hypothetically speaking, what if you could come out with about 2,000 square foot of turf, some nice tables, maybe a nice big wall with a projector screen, and maybe catch a summer night movie on the outside with some 50s music maybe playing in the background, but you got a nice summer movie, you're out there with the kids eating ice cream underneath the stars, and just kind of getting back to your roots and spending time.
You're almost describing like the drive-in theater and the drive-in dining. I mean, I know it's just a big screen, it's not a drive-in, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of the vibe I think that you're going for.
Sure.
That sounds super awesome.
Super safe area because it's segregated in the back. So you still have your immediate dining, but we can take the kids and let them play. And maybe there's Connect 4, maybe there's Jenga, maybe there's some coloring tables, some puzzles, horseshoes.
Well, and something we haven't even talked about, even if you adjust them up slightly, the prices at the Malt Shop have always been extremely affordable. Extremely affordable in a good way.
For sure.
So even if we adjust them up, to modernize some of the pricing, it's still, I mean, you Cheddar's is great, but I mean, it can get expensive, and that can be a $150 bill. Some of these restaurants. So I mean, that's a big part of the Malt Shop too. That's always been good.
So that's kind of why that's why we kind of leaned on some of the sponsor activity, right? Like, we're not asking for just 100% donation, but sometimes people are willing to work stuff at cost. And so when we talk about these sponsors, how awesome would it be to have a piece of your legacy submitted on the side where it says Malt Shop Lighting saved by, and it's got your business logo, that's on there. To me, that's invaluable, trade differential there, without having to go in and take the 90s pricing from the burgers and make them to what they are now, because I think a $13 burger is, it's hard to sell.
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Yep, absolutely. No, I think that's a great idea. And, folks, the advertising side of it is great, especially with a place like the Malt Shop. Yep. So it's, it signals, if you're a potential advertiser, it signals to the community, hey, I'm part of the community. And billboards are great. I actually noticed a HART HVAC billboard there in Hudson Oaks. I was doing the turnaround.
You'll notice it's right there by Chick-fil-A.
Yes, it is. Actually, yeah. Sorry.
That was done on purpose.
I noticed that. Is that new? Because I don't remember.
No, we've had it now.
Is it a while?
About 14 months.
Oh, okay.
About a little over a year.
Yeah. No, that was a nice one. Did you have? Because we could keep talking about the Malt Shop, but I do want to go into HART HVAC a little bit. Did you ever have anything at the ballpark, the Ranger Stadium?
Yep, for 3 years, all the way through the World Series out in center field. We had a HART HVAC sign that was out there. Absolutely.
Good ROI or hard to tell?
So we had a sign out in the center field.
Yes.
Yeah. We had great tickets, great seats.
Oh, great.
I can tell you on my hand about how many times. I actually had people text me while they're at the ballpark, and they're like, hey, I'm here at the ballpark. They send a message to our page. Our air conditioner conveniently is out at home. We saw your sign. We just curious on getting a quote.
Are you serious?
Yeah, yes. I saved them.
So there's some return on investment there.
There was. Yeah, there was. Not too
Probably
bad.
wasn't cheap advertising. The Malt Shop will be more cost effective to an advertiser than the ballpark.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
But no, that was awesome. I remember seeing that 3 years. Was it a package that you bought, or like was it year over year?
Yeah.
It was like a 3-year
just like a
deal.
commitment pricing, and we bundled everything
And
together.
it came with seats.
So hypothetically speaking, because I'm not a tax professional,
Yeah.
but you can only write 50% of your seats off, I believe, because it's entertainment purposes. But I put all my money into the sign, so yes, it came with the seats.
Gotcha.
The seats were no charge; it was 100% to the sign.
Understood.
There you go.
Very cool. Yeah. No, very cool. No, the sign was cool when I saw that. Yeah, and then the billboard in Hudson Oaks. So talk to us real quick. We're still doing pretty good. About 6-7 minutes left. HART HVAC. You may end up being known for the Malt Shop, but David Hart is HART HVAC. That's been your business for the last how many years, David?
2014.
Okay, so we're coming up over a decade.
Yeah, well, yes, but full time since 21.
Okay.
Full time since 21.
Okay, and how did you get involved in this, or a little bit of history?
Well, I
on
was
that?
I was actually on the winter weather deployment, so I'm in the State Guard.
Okay.
We were deployed on the winter weather efforts across Texas, and I was working for another company. And I guess I got a text message one day and says, "I'm tired of you playing Army. You need to be at work." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm not playing anything. Like we're literally flying medical supplies across Texas, but okay, that's cool. Well, when are you going to be back?" And I said, "Well, my orders end on the 28th." Well, then the employer sent me a notification and said they were terminating my employment as of February 28th. So March 1st, I turned around, formed an LLC, put all my business perspective into play, and kind of same kind of deal what we're doing now. Hey, let's all work together. Let's do this, and so that's kind of where we're at now, and that's why I'm so strong on community involvement, because that's how I got through those times as well.
So here's the question: if my wife was here, she would say, "Okay, David, when I call HVAC to come in to do an inspection on my air conditioner, seems like my air conditioner breaks 30 days later.
Listen.
What are you cutting in my HV? No, I'm just
Listen,
kidding.
I got an answer for that. I absolutely have an answer for that. Look, if I could find a way to go in there and do that, right, like I think air conditioning people would be a lot more in a different tax bracket, right? Like if there's a way to predict that future, I'll tell you, like I tell anybody, though, an air conditioner is like a set of tires, okay? It's bound to happen. You can buy 4 brand new tires, spend $3,500, and still go up the road and get a flat. A machine is going to break. If it breaks while we're there or shortly, or at 30 minutes later, I'd probably scratch my head.
Yeah. I'd scratch my head a little.
Yeah.
We had we almost purchased a house. We live over by Lake Weatherford, and there was a house up in Lake Hills we almost bought. They were so amazing at taking care of their HVAC. That's why we could not buy the house. So the HVAC unit was like 20 years old, no replacement. And they had documents and books, and they had been taking care of it. So they were amazing. They never had to replace their HVAC. They had it, the maintenance was great, everything was great. And our real estate agent was like, well, it's 20 years old. They're long overdue for probably an entire new unit. So we had asked the homeowners, could we make a concession on the price? And they said, no, it's still working. It might get you another 20 years. And we're like, oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
But they were great. And they did all their maintenance, and they did all their stuff.
Sure.
But that was an odd story, is that the way it kind of turned from there. Do you have any, so you've been in this industry, any odd stories? You're up in attics. You ever find anything weird? You ever stumble on anything?
Yeah, I think I found Stuart Little one time in the inside of the unit, and then I went downstairs to go tell the lady, hey, you need to get somebody out, and then I noticed there was a loaf of bread being drug across the ground.
It was like a live rat
I thought
rodent?
it was a cat. It was not. It was Stuart's bigger brother who was downstairs, and the loaf of bread was going across the floor. And she said,
goodness.
"She's like, I'm so sorry. We just moved here and this." And I'm going, I hope it don't take off with my tool bag. I hope I didn't leave
it's
my
a big old
burrito in.
rat.
Yeah.
Not a little mouse.
Yeah,
It's
no,
a big
it's
old
probably
rat.
the biggest one I've ever seen in the industry.
Okay.
So
Okay.
sure.
You do work, HVAC ever go in the crawl spaces underneath, or is it almost always, it's up in the attic, right?
It's mostly up in the attic. I'll tell you.
Because crawl spaces would freak me out.
So the last time I was underneath a mobile home out in Springtown, I got about 30 feet underneath it. Felt something crawling on me, and I couldn't get out. I almost came through the floor. I almost had another vent because I'm like, I can't do this. But
And
you
we
can't
don't know
get
what
out.
it was. It was
Look, you can't get out quick enough when you're on your back and you're shimming. You
no.
can't get out of there.
That's crazy. So we built our own home on the lake, and everything on the lake is crawl space. It's up on pier and beam,
Yeah.
whatnot. So I spent a ton of time under there, but as soon as the last floor joist went down, I don't think I ever went under there again because I'm like, if it's dark and I couldn't, because crawling underneath there when there's open wood flooring, the light's coming in. It's kind of like the forest, David. It's not that scary. As soon as it goes pitch black, your imagination goes crazy and everything. Okay, so you're a technician for HART, or you're really just at the management business?
So right now I'm considered the general manager for the business. So I still handle some of the sales aspects. I go out if a customer's needing something and make sure they're taken care of. But we've got a full team. There's 47 employees total right now. Started off with me and one more. There's 47 of us now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 47.
How many you have a building?
We have a location here in Weatherford, and in the next 30 days, I will have my second location in Houston. In the Houston market.
This is big news.
In the Houston market.
So we've been
in the Houston market for about a year and a half, but we're just now about to go brick and mortar with it. We finally got the business built up enough to take that off.
Do you have a plan, or you going to be driving I-35 like I-45 like crazy?
We got a plan in place.
You got a plan.
We got plans in place. Yeah,
All right.
I see it as playing chess, right? Just move one piece at a time.
Amen to that. Which one makes you more nervous, right? Malt Shop or Houston?
I think starting coaching tomorrow night makes me the most nervous. I think.
What are we coaching?
I start coaching soccer tomorrow night for Weatherford Soccer
So
Association.
this is for son or daughter?
We have twins.
Twins.
And they're playing soccer, and they didn't have a coach, and my wife signed me up. So there you have it.
So I served on the Weatherford Soccer Association board for about 4 years. My daughter coached her teams and everything. It's an experience.
Yeah.
I love the people I served with, loved coaching, but man, it dragged on you a little bit, and you come home from work on whenever you decide practice is going to be Wednesday night, Thursday
Tomorrow night, 5:30.
Okay, yep, tomorrow night. So Wednesday at 5:30, and you're gonna all day. It's gonna be like, oh, it's almost time to end work, and then you're gonna be reminded, oh man, I got an hour and a half practice. I got to come up with drills and skills, and
Luckily, they're 4. It's a 4U, so we should be good there.
oh, that's the twins. Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
You're jogging my memory now. I know that. Excellent. Very good.
Yeah, it'll be fun. My job is to keep them on the field, right?
That's it. That's it.
There we
4
go.
is great. 4 is great. All right. Well, we're coming to our end. Let's talk to the twins quick. This is video. This lasts forever. Any advice for them as they grow older? They watch this someday. They look back at the very end of this video and they're like, hey, Dad, you said that thing, and I remembered that, and that stuck with me. What would be your advice? A little tidbit of wisdom for us.
I would say your word and your name is your legacy, right? It's forever. It's permanent. And it's not often something that you can rewrite that chapter on, right? So I would say this in closing: do what's true to your heart and what you feel is correct, and the rest of it will work itself out. Do it with integrity every time, and you'll be just fine.
I love it. God bless Malt Shop.
God bless the Malt Shop.
David, thanks a lot, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate
You're
it.
good.